I watched Karen pour gasoline around my house while my 5-year-old daughter played inside. She smiled at me, pulled out a lighter and said, "Burn with your half-breed bastard." 3 minutes later, as flames consumed us, police dragged her away in handcuffs. This is our story. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The smell of burning flesh never leaves you. It becomes a part of your DNA, woven into every breath you take for the rest of your life. That September morning started like any other with my 5-year-old daughter, Emma, singing her favorite song about butterflies while I made her breakfast. I didn't know that in 3 hours I would be watching her burn. My name is Sarah Mitchell and I'm a single mother. Emma's father died when she was 2, a car accident that left us alone but together. We lived in a small house in Meadowbrook Estates, a neighborhood that looked perfect from the outside. White picket fences, manicured lawns, children playing in the streets. But underneath that perfect surface lived a monster named Karen Whitmore. Karen was our HOA president. She had held that position for 12 years, ruling our neighborhood like a dictator in designer sunglasses. Her blonde hair was always perfectly styled, her nails always manicured, her smile always fake. She lived in the biggest house on the block, a mansion that she inherited from her late husband, a man 20 years older than her, who conveniently died and left her everything. From the day we moved in, Karen hated us. Maybe it was because I was a single mother. Maybe it was because our house was modest. Maybe it was because Emma was mixed race. Her beautiful brown skin a gift from her father's Caribbean heritage. Whatever the reason, Karen made our lives hell. Started small. Violations for our grass being half an inch too tall. Complaints about Emma's bicycle being visible in our driveway. Fines for our mailbox being the wrong shade of black. Every week brought a new citation, a new fine, a new reason why we didn't belong in her perfect neighborhood. I paid the fines. I cut the grass. I repainted the mailbox. I did everything she asked because I needed to keep our home. It was all I could afford. And Emma loved her room with the butterfly wallpaper. I couldn't let Karen drive us away. But Karen wasn't satisfied with compliance. She wanted complete destruction. That morning, Emma was playing in our backyard. She had set up a little tea party for her stuffed animals, arranging them in a circle on her pink blanket. Her laughter floated through the open kitchen window as I washed dishes, the most beautiful sound in the world. My baby girl, my entire universe, was happy. Then I heard Karen's voice. "This is a violation of HOA regulations," Karen announced, her heels clicking on our patio stones. She had let herself into our backyard through the side gate without permission, without knocking, without any right to be there. I dried my hands and went outside. "What are you talking about, Karen?" She pointed at Emma's tea party setup with a disgusted expression. "Recreational items must be stored out of sight when not in active use. This blanket and these toys constitute an ice or visible from neighboring properties." Emma looked up at Karen with confused eyes. "But I'm playing with them. I'm having a tea party. Don't talk back to me, child." Karen snapped. "Your mother needs to teach you some manners." My blood boiled, but I kept my voice calm. "Emma, honey, why don't you go inside and wash your hands? I'll talk to Mrs. Whitmore." Emma gathered her stuffed animals, her bottom lip trembling. She was scared of Karen, and I hated that my daughter had to feel fear in her own backyard. As Emma walked toward the house, Karen's eyes followed her with pure hatred. "She's not even dressed appropriately," Karen said. "Those shorts are too revealing for a child." I looked at my daughter's knee-length shorts and felt rage building in my chest. "She's 5 years old, Karen. She's wearing normal children's clothing. In my day, children knew how to dress respectfully. But I suppose I can't expect much from a household like yours." The way she said, "Household like yours," dripped with racism and classism. "Get out of my yard," I said, my voice shaking. "You have no right to be here." Karen smiled, that cold smile that never reached her eyes. "Everything in this neighborhood is HOA property, Sarah. I have every right to inspect for violations, and I'm issuing you a $500 fine for creating a public nuisance." She pulled out her phone and took pictures of Emma's tea party setup. The blanket, the stuffed animals as if they were evidence of some terrible crime. Then she turned and walked toward the side gate, but she paused before leaving. You know, Sarah, people like you really shouldn't be living in neighborhoods like this. You bring down property values. You bring down the whole character of Meadowbrook Estates. If you had any decency, you'd leave on your own. This is my home, I said firmly. I'm not going anywhere. Karen's expression turned dark. We'll see about that. She left and I stood there shaking with anger and fear. Emma called from inside asking if she could have a juice box. I went inside, hugged my daughter, and tried to forget Karen's threat. I should have known better. I should have realized that Karen wasn't making an empty threat. I should have packed our bags and left that very day. But I didn't, and 3 hours later my world caught fire. It was almost noon when I smelled gasoline. Emma was in her room taking her afternoon quiet time. She wasn't napping anymore at 5 years old, but she still needed an hour of calm play in her room. I could hear her singing softly to her stuffed animals, creating elaborate stories about kingdoms and adventures. The gasoline smell grew stronger. I thought maybe a neighbor was using their lawnmower, but something felt wrong. The scent was too close, too strong, too chemical. I walked to the front door and opened it. What I saw stopped my heart. Karen stood on my front lawn holding a red gas can. She was pouring gasoline in a wide circle around our entire house, soaking the grass, splashing it against our walls, creating a ring of fuel that surrounded us completely. Karen, what are you doing? I screamed, running out onto the porch. She looked up at me with eyes that held no sanity, no mercy, no humanity. Removing the trash, she said calmly. This neighborhood will be better without you and your half-breed bastard. The racial slur hit me like a physical blow, but I didn't have time to process it. Karen reached into her designer purse and pulled out a lighter. No, I screamed. Karen, stop. My daughter is inside. Good. Karen said she can burn with you. She flicked the lighter. The world exploded into flames. The gasoline ignited in a perfect circle around our house. A wall of fire that rose 6 feet high. The heat was immediate and intense, pushing me back toward the door. Through the roaring flames, I could see Karen backing away toward her car, her face illuminated by the fire she had created, smiling. I ran inside, screaming Emma's name. Mommy. Her little voice came from upstairs, frightened and confused. Mommy, what's happening? The smoke was already filling the house. The walls were catching fire, the flames spreading faster than I could have imagined. Our home, our safe place, was becoming a death trap. I ran up the stairs, my lungs burning from the smoke. Emma's door was closed, and when I opened it, I saw my baby girl standing in the middle of her room, tears streaming down her face, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. I'm scared, Mommy, she sobbed. I know, baby, I know, but Mommy's here now. We're going to get out. I grabbed her, lifting her into my arms. She wrapped her legs around my waist and buried her face in my neck. I ran toward the stairs, but the fire was everywhere now. The hallway was an inferno. The stairs were collapsing. The front door, our main exit, was completely blocked by flames. We were trapped. Mommy, it's hot. Emma whimpered. I don't like it. I know, sweetie. Hold on tight. I ran to my bedroom to the window that faced the backyard. We were on the second floor, but it was our only chance. I could hear sirens in the distance, neighbors screaming, but help wasn't here yet, and we didn't have time to wait. The window was stuck. Years of paint had sealed it shut. I grabbed a chair and smashed it through the glass, clearing away the shards as quickly as I could. Smoke poured out of the opening, and I gasped for clean air. Emma, listen to me, I said, holding her face in my hands. Mommy is going to lower you down as far as I can, and then you need to let go and drop. Mrs. Chun is down there. She'll catch you. I looked down and saw our neighbor, elderly Mrs. Chen, standing below with her arms raised, tears streaming down her face. Other neighbors were running toward our house with garden hoses, trying to fight the flames, but it was useless. The fire was too big, too hot, too hungry. I don't want to let go, Emma cried. I want to stay with you. You will, baby. Promise. But you need to go first so Mommy knows you're safe. Then Mommy will jump right after you. Okay. She nodded, trusting me with everything she had. I climbed through the window, holding Emma with one arm while gripping the window frame with the other. The heat from the fire below was unbearable. My skin felt like it was melting, but I held on. I lowered Emma as far as my arms could reach, her little fingers gripping my wrists. "Okay, baby, let go now. Mrs. Chun will catch you." "I love you, Mommy," Emma said. "I love you too, sweetheart. Now let go." She released my wrists and fell. Mrs. Chin caught her, stumbling backward, but keeping Emma safe in her arms. Relief flooded through me for exactly 2 seconds. Then the floor beneath me collapsed. I fell backward into the inferno. Flames consumed me instantly. My clothes caught fire. My hair burned. My skin blistered and peeled. The pain was beyond description, beyond comprehension. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't scream. I could only burn. Through the flames, through the agony, I heard Emma screaming, "Mommy, Mommy." I tried to move, tried to get to the window, but my body wouldn't respond. The fire had me. It was eating me alive, consuming everything I was. Then hands grabbed me, strong hands covered in thick gloves. Firefighters. They had arrived. They were pulling me out of the fire, dragging me through the burning hallway, down the collapsing stairs, out into the yard where the grass was black and smoking. I gasped for air, my lungs filling with oxygen that felt like knives. My entire body was one massive wound. Couldn't see. I couldn't hear anything except a high-pitched ringing. But I felt someone grab my hand. Small fingers, familiar grip. "Mommy," Emma sobbed. "Mommy, please don't die." I wanted to tell her I was okay. I wanted to tell her I loved her. I wanted to hold her and promise that everything would be all right, but I couldn't speak. The fire had taken my voice. Then everything went black. I woke up in hell, but it was a different kind of hell. This one had white walls, beeping machines, and pain that made burning alive seem almost merciful. My entire body was wrapped in bandages. I couldn't move. I couldn't see through my swollen eyes. Every breath felt like inhaling broken glass. "Mrs. Mitchell," a voice, female, gentle. "A nurse. Can you hear me? Blink once for yes." I managed to blink. "Good. You're in the burn unit at County Hospital. You've been here for 2 days. You have third-degree burns over 40% of your body. The doctors performed emergency surgery to save your life. You're going to be okay. But recovery will be long and painful." "Emma." Where was Emma? I tried to speak, but only a horrible rasping sound came out. "Don't try to talk yet," the nurse said softly. "Your throat was badly damaged by smoke inhalation. But I know what you want to know. Your daughter is safe. She has minor smoke inhalation and some first-degree burns on her arms. But she's going to be fine. She's with a family friend right now. Mrs. Chun is taking care of her." Tears leaked from my swollen eyes. Emma was alive. Emma was safe. That was all that mattered. "There's something else you need to know," the nurse continued. "The woman who set your house on fire was arrested. Karen Whitmore. The entire neighborhood saw what she did. Multiple witnesses, video footage from doorbell cameras. She's in jail right now, and she's being charged with attempted murder, arson, and hate crimes. The police came to interview me the next day. A detective named Rodriguez sat beside my hospital bed, his expression grave. "Mrs. Mitchell, I know this is difficult, but I need you to tell me everything that happened between you and Karen Whitmore. From the beginning, I couldn't speak, so they gave me a tablet. Slowly, painfully, I typed out everything, every violation, every fine, every insult, every threat." The detective's jaw clenched as he read, his anger visible. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I'm sorry we didn't protect you sooner. I'm sorry it took this long for someone to stop her." He showed me something on his phone, a video from a neighbor's doorbell camera. It showed everything. Karen pouring the gasoline. Karen lighting the fire. Karen standing there watching our house burn while I screamed for help from the window. And most damning of all, it caught her voice clearly. "Burn, you trash. Burn with your half-breed bastard." The detective's eyes were wet. "This video has gone viral, Mrs. Mitchell. The entire country knows what she did to you and your daughter. The district attorney is personally handling this case. Karen Whitmore will never hurt anyone again. I promise you that. They let Emma visit me on the third day. Mrs. Chin brought her, holding her hand as they walked into my hospital room. Emma stopped at the doorway when she saw me. Her eyes went wide and her bottom lips started trembling. I must have looked like a monster wrapped in bandages connected to tubes and machines. "It's okay, sweetheart," Mrs. Chun said gently. "That's your mommy under there. She's getting better." Emma approached slowly, her stuffed rabbit clutched tight. When she reached my bedside, she started crying. "Mommy, you look hurt," she whispered. I reached out my bandaged hand. Emma took it carefully, so gently, as if I might break. I couldn't speak, but I squeezed her hand. 3 times our secret code. "I love you." Emma squeezed back 3 times. "I love you too, Mommy." She climbed carefully into the chair beside my bed and talked to me for an hour. She told me about staying at Mrs. Chen's house, about the other neighbors bringing toys and clothes for her, about the firefighters who visited her to make sure she was okay. "Everyone is being really nice," Emma said. "But I miss home. I miss my butterfly room." Our house was gone, completely destroyed. Everything we owned had burned to ashes. But I couldn't tell her that yet. I just squeezed her hand again. "The police lady said the mean lady is in jail." Emma continued, her voice getting quieter. "The one who started the fire. She said she can't hurt us anymore." I nodded, tears soaking into my bandages. "Why did she hate us, Mommy?" Emma asked, her voice breaking. "Why did she want to burn us?" That was the question I couldn't answer. How do you explain evil to a 5-year-old? How do you tell your daughter that some people hate others for no reason except the color of their skin or the size of their house or the fact that they dare to exist? I typed on my tablet, "Some people have sick hearts. Baby, it's not about us. We didn't do anything wrong. She's the one who's wrong." Emma read it slowly, sounding out the words. When she finished, she looked at me with eyes too wise for her age. I was really scared. "Mommy," she whispered, "I thought we were going to die." I pulled her close, ignoring the pain it caused. She buried her face in my shoulder and sobbed, releasing all the terror she'd been holding inside. I held my baby girl and cried with her, both of us mourning the innocence that Karen had burned away. The story spread like wildfire across social media. The doorbell camera video had millions of views. News outlets picked it up. Suddenly, our tragedy was national news. The support was overwhelming. A GoFundMe appeared, created by Mrs. Chun, to help with medical bills and rebuilding our lives. Within a week, it had raised over $500,000. Donations poured in from across the country from people who saw the video and were horrified by what Karen had done. Other stories emerged, too. Former residents of Meadowbrook Estates came forward with their own tales of Karen's abuse. A black family who had been driven out by constant harassment. A Hispanic couple who were fined thousands of dollars for violations that white neighbors never received. A disabled veteran who Karen had mocked for his prosthetic leg. The HOA was investigated and dissolved. The board members who had enabled Karen for years faced lawsuits. The entire structure of power in Meadowbrook Estates crumbled. My hospital room filled with flowers, cards, and gifts for Emma. Strangers wrote letters of support. Children from Emma's school sent drawings. The firefighters who saved us visited multiple times, bringing Emma a junior firefighter badge and telling her how brave she was. But all the support in the world couldn't heal the damage that had been done. Emma had nightmares every night, waking up screaming about fire. I was facing months of painful surgeries and physical therapy. Our home was gone. Our sense of safety was shattered. And Karen was sitting in jail waiting for trial, probably still believing she had done nothing wrong. 3 months later, I sat in a courtroom, still wearing compression garments for my healing burns. Emma sat beside me holding my hand. The courtroom was packed with press, neighbors, and people who had traveled from across the country to see justice served. Karen entered in handcuffs and an orange jumpsuit. Her designer clothes were gone. Her perfect hair was gone. Her fake smile was gone. She looked small and pathetic. But when she glanced at us, I saw the hatred still burning in her eyes. The trial lasted 2 weeks. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. The doorbell camera video, testimony from dozens of neighbors, records of every fine, every violation notice, every threatening email Karen had sent, phone records showing she had searched online for how to commit arson and how to make a fire spread fast. The defense tried to claim temporary insanity. They argued that Karen was having a mental health crisis, that she didn't know what she was doing, but the prosecution destroyed that argument. They showed Karen's social media posts from before the fire, complaining about undesirable elements in the neighborhood. They revealed emails where Karen discussed forcing us out by any means necessary. They proved that this wasn't a moment of madness, but a calculated act of hatred. The most powerful moment came when I testified. I had been practicing speaking again, working with a speech therapist to rebuild my damaged vocal cords. My voice was raspy and weak, but I could finally tell my story in my own words. I told them about every violation, every insult, every threat. I told them about Emma's tea party and Karen's disgusted expression. I told them about smelling gasoline and seeing Karen pour it around our home. I told them about the flames, about Emma's screams, about the moment I thought we would both die. When I finished, there wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Even the judge was wiping tears away. Then Emma testified. The judge had arranged for her to do it through video to spare her from facing Karen directly. On a screen, my brave little girl told the jury what she remembered. "I heard Mommy screaming," Emma said, her voice small and scared. "I smelled smoke. Everything was hot. I thought the bad lady killed my mommy. I thought I was all alone." The jury watched Emma with expressions of horror and heartbreak. I watched Karen, waiting for some sign of remorse, some hint of human feeling. She showed none. Her expression was blank, cold, empty. The defense called Karen to the stand. "It was a mistake. Do you regret your actions, Mrs. Whitmore?" the prosecutor asked during cross-examination. "I regret that they survived," Karen said flatly. Gasps filled the courtroom. The judge called for order. Karen's own lawyer looked stunned. "You regret that a mother and her 5-year-old daughter survived," the prosecutor repeated, wanting the jury to hear it again. "They didn't belong in our neighborhood," Karen said, her voice rising. "That woman and her mongrel child were bringing down property values. Someone had to do something. I was protecting our community by attempting to murder a child," the prosecutor asked. "By removing a problem," Karen snapped. "Do you know what it's like to see your beautiful neighborhood destroyed by people like her? People who don't maintain their homes properly? People who have children running around making noise? People who don't belong." The prosecutor let her talk. He let her expose her own evil, her own hatred, her own complete lack of remorse. By the time he finished, the jury was staring at Karen with open disgust. The closing arguments were brief. The evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours. Guilty on all counts. Karen showed no emotion when the verdict was read. She just sat there cold and empty, as if she couldn't understand why anyone would find her actions wrong. The sentencing hearing was 2 weeks later. The judge listened to victim impact statements from Emma and me, from our neighbors, from the firefighters who risked their lives to save us. Then he looked at Karen with an expression of pure contempt. "Mrs. Whitmore, in my 30 years on the bench, I have never seen such a calculated, cruel, and senseless act of violence. You attempted to murder a woman and her 5-year-old child because you didn't approve of their presence in your neighborhood. You felt entitled to take their lives because of your own bigotry and hatred." He paused, letting his words sink in. "The prosecution has recommended a sentence of 30 years. I find that insufficient. Mrs. Whitmore, I sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole. You will spend the rest of your days behind bars where you can never harm another innocent person." The courtroom erupted in applause. The judge didn't call for order. He let it continue. Let the community celebrate justice. Karen finally showed emotion. She started screaming, cursing, fighting the bailiffs as they dragged her from the courtroom. "This isn't fair. I was protecting my neighborhood. They didn't belong. They didn't belong." Her voice faded as they took her away. I held Emma close, both of us crying, both of us finally able to breathe. It was over. The money from the GoFundMe allowed us to rebuild. Not in Meadowbrook Estates, which held too many terrible memories, but in a different neighborhood across town. A place where people smiled at us, where children played together without fear, where the color of our skin didn't matter. Our new house was smaller than the one that burned, but it was ours. Emma got a new butterfly room, even more beautiful than before. I planted a garden in the backyard, filling it with flowers that attracted real butterflies so Emma could watch them dance among the blooms. The physical healing was slower. I underwent 7 surgeries to repair the damage from the burns. Physical therapy was excruciating, teaching my scarred body to move again. The pain was constant, a reminder of what Karen had done. But I was alive. Emma was alive. That was what mattered. The emotional healing was even harder. Emma developed PTSD from the fire. She couldn't sleep without a nightlight. She panicked if she smelled smoke or gasoline. She had nightmares where she watched me burn and couldn't save me. We went to therapy together, Emma and I, learning how to process our trauma. Slowly, gradually, the nightmares became less frequent. Emma started to smile again, to laugh again, to trust that she was safe. I had nightmares, too. Dreams where I didn't catch Emma, where she burned instead of me, where I had to watch my daughter die. I would wake up screaming, and Emma would run to my room, and we would hold each other until the terror faded. But we survived. We healed. We rebuilt our lives from the ashes, literally and figuratively. A year after the fire, on the anniversary of that terrible day, we held a remembrance ceremony. Mrs. Chun organized it, inviting everyone who had supported us. The firefighters who saved us attended, the neighbors who fought the flames with garden hoses, the strangers who donated money, the therapists who helped us heal. Emma stood in front of everyone wearing a pretty yellow dress and gave a speech she had written herself. "A bad lady tried to hurt me and my mommy," Emma said, her voice clear and strong. "She almost killed us, but she didn't. We're still here, and we're not scared anymore." She paused, looking at me with love in her eyes. "Mommy is the bravest person I know. She saved me. She jumped through fire to keep me safe. And now we have a new home and new friends and butterflies in our garden. The bad lady is in jail forever and she can't hurt anyone else. We won." Everyone applauded. Emma smiled, that beautiful smile that could light up the world, and ran to hug me. We had won. Not just the legal battle, but the battle for our lives, our happiness, our future. Karen had tried to destroy us with fire, but fire refines us as much as it destroys. We came through the flames stronger, braver, more determined to live our lives fully. 6 months after sentencing, I received a letter from prison from Karen. I almost threw it away without reading it. I didn't want her words in my home, contaminating the safe space we had built. But curiosity won. The letter was short and cold. "Sarah, I'm writing to tell you that I still believe I did nothing wrong. You and your daughter didn't belong in Meadowbrook Estates. My only regret is that I failed to complete what I started. I hope you live every day knowing that someone hated you enough to try to burn you alive. I hope you never feel safe again. Karen." I read it twice, feeling nothing but pity. Karen would spend the rest of her life in a cell, consumed by her own hatred, never understanding that her actions had only made us stronger. She wanted us to live in fear, but we refused. I wrote back one sentence. "We forgive you because holding on to hatred would make us like you, and we refused to become monsters." I never heard from her again. 2 years after the fire, a documentary filmmaker contacted us. She wanted to tell our story to expose how HOA tyranny and racism could escalate to attempted murder. She wanted to prevent it from happening to someone else. Emma and I discussed it. It would mean reliving the trauma, opening old wounds, letting the world see our scars. But it could also help others. It could warn people about the dangers of unchecked HOA power. It could show that hatred has real consequences. We agreed. The documentary, titled Burned, A Story of Hate and Survival, premiered at Sundance Film Festival. It won the Audience Award. It was picked up by a major streaming service. Millions of people watched our story. The impact was immediate. Laws changed across the country, limiting HOA powers and establishing oversight committees. Karen's case became a landmark example in legal textbooks, teaching future lawyers about hate crimes and attempted murder charges. But more than the legal changes, the documentary started conversations about racism, about classism, about how small acts of cruelty can escalate into violence, about how we need to stand up for our neighbors, to call out injustice before it becomes tragedy. Emma and I did interviews, speaking events, podcasts. We told our story over and over, never sugarcoating it, never hiding the pain. People needed to hear the truth. Some people criticized us for profiting from our tragedy. But we donated most of the money to organizations fighting housing discrimination and supporting burn victims. We kept just enough to secure Emma's college fund and maintain our home. We weren't trying to profit. We were trying to prevent. 3 years after the fire, Emma turned 8. We celebrated with a big party in our backyard. The garden full of butterflies and flowers. Her friends from school came, running and laughing and eating cake. Emma smiled the whole time, genuinely happy, finally free from the shadow of what Karen had done. I watched my daughter play, her laughter filling the air, and felt overwhelming gratitude. We had survived against all odds, against someone who wanted us dead. We had survived and thrived. My scars would never fully fade. The burns had left permanent marks on my skin. A map of that terrible day, but I didn't hide them anymore. I wore short sleeves. I went swimming. I refused to let Karen's actions make me ashamed of my body. Emma saw my scars as proof of my love. Mommy got hurt saving me. She would tell people proudly, "She's a hero." I wasn't a hero. I was just a mother protecting her child. Any parent would have done the same. But if my scars helped Emma understand how much she was loved, then they were worth it. I started a support group for other victims of HOA abuse. We met weekly, sharing our stories, offering advice, providing community. Some had faced fines and harassment. Others had been driven from their homes. None had experienced violence like we had, but all had been hurt by systems designed to control and exclude. Together, we worked to change those systems. We lobbied for laws. We supported victims in legal battles. We exposed corrupt HOA boards. Slowly, gradually, we made a difference. Emma wanted to be a firefighter when she grew up. She had a junior firefighter uniform that she wore constantly, and she practiced safety drills with her friends. The firefighters who saved us became like uncles to her, inviting her to the station, teaching her about fire safety, encouraging her dreams. "I want to save people like they saved us," Emma told me one night before bed. "I want to be brave like you and them." "You're already brave, sweetheart," I said, kissing her forehead. "You survived something terrible and you're still kind and loving and full of joy. That's the bravest thing anyone can be." 5 years after the fire, I stood in front of a new house. Not ours, but one we had helped build through a housing charity we had started. A single mother and her 2 children stood beside me, keys in hand, tears in their eyes. "Thank you," the mother whispered. "Thank you for giving us a safe home." Emma, now 10 years old, handed the children welcome baskets filled with toys and snacks. "You're going to love your new home," she said brightly. "And nobody can hurt you here." We made sure. Our charity, rising from the ashes, had built 12 homes so far for families facing housing discrimination or escaping dangerous situations. Every house had state-of-the-art fire safety systems, security features, and was located in communities that welcomed diversity. We couldn't bring back the home that Karen burned, but we could give homes to others who needed safety and acceptance. Karen was still in prison, exactly where she belonged. I heard through news reports that she had become a model prisoner, not because she had changed, but because she was calculating enough to follow rules when it benefited her. She would never be released, never get parole, never have the chance to hurt another soul. Sometimes I wondered if she ever thought about us, if she ever regretted trying to murder a child, that if she ever felt any remorse. Probably not. People like Karen rarely do. But it didn't matter anymore. She had no power over us. She was a footnote in our story, not the author of it. Our story was about survival, about love, about community, about refusing to let hatred win. Emma and I had matching tattoos. Now, small butterflies on our wrists, A reminder that transformation comes through fire, that we can emerge from the ashes more beautiful than before. Mommy, Emma said as we drove home that evening, do you ever think about the fire anymore? Sometimes, I admitted. Do you? Not as much as I used to. Mostly I think about how lucky we are. We survived. We're together. We have a good life. She was right. We were lucky. Not lucky that Karen had targeted us, but lucky that we survived. Lucky that we found strength in each other. Lucky that we turned our tragedy into purpose. That night, as I tucked Emma into her butterfly room, she asked me the question she always asked. Mommy, do you love me? And I gave her the answer I always gave. The truth that Karen's hatred could never change more than all the butterflies in the world. Baby girl, forever and always. Emma smiled, safe and loved and free from fear, and fell asleep. I stood at her doorway for a long time, watching her breathe, thanking God or fate or whatever force in the universe had allowed us to survive. Karen had tried to burn my daughter alive. She had failed. We had won. And that victory, that survival, that love was worth every scar, every nightmare, every painful memory. Because Emma was alive. Emma was happy. Emma was safe. And nothing Karen had done could ever take that away.